The Battle of Pell's Point occurred October 18th, 1776, and it's one of the battles in the overall 1776 Battle for New York. If you don't know the story about the Battle for New York, check out my YouTube playlist called The Battle for New York, where I have been following this battle since it began earlier in 1776. For just a bit of background for those of you who are unfamiliar, in 1776 in New York, the British are trying to take control of Manhattan Island and all of the waterways, New York Harbor, the East River, the Hudson River, and the Long Island Sound. General Washington is trying to prevent that from happening. The British want the island, of course, and the waterways to use as a base of operations to subdue rebellion in the rest of the colonies. They are hoping, though, to be able to completely defeat Washington's army on the island of Manhattan that summer, if possible. By October 18th, Washington has lost most of Manhattan Island. He is at the northern end of the island in his encampment, and the British are making ground on him. He has retreated through Brooklyn, through lower Manhattan, and is at the northern end of the island. But if we look at the geographic situation of what's going on, there is one bridge at the northern end of the island, the Kingsbridge Crossing, and Howe, for whatever reason, has failed to take control of that bridge. Washington has positioned a group on the bridge commanded by General William Heath in case he needs to get off of the island. General Howe has been testing Washington's position, and on October 12th has done a landing to the east of him, but that landing was repelled by the Americans. Now, this clues Washington in that Howe is going to try to make a flanking maneuver and prevent him from moving north. So Washington decides he's going to try now to move up to a more secure position off of the island into White Plains. And in order to do that successfully, he has to prevent the British from coming around and blocking him in. On October 18th, the British will land at a place called Pell's Point, and we'll get the Battle of Pell's Point. Now, before we go on, I'd like to thank Dave Osborne from St. Paul's Church in Mount Vernon, New York, for giving us a tour of what remains of the battleground at the Split Rock Golf Course. It was a great tour, and it was really incredible to actually see where this battle took place. So thank you, Dave, for that tour. And I think Dave gives that annually. So if any of you want to take it next year, you can just get in touch with him at the St. Paul's Church in Mount Vernon, New York. So what is going on that day? Well, we know John Glover from the previous battle crossing the East River on August 29th, 1776, where he helped Washington escape a siege being set up by General Howe. So John Glover is a proven entity. Now, interestingly, I learned from Dave that John Glover was not the most senior officer in that location, but he was the most experienced and the most trusted by Washington. Glover is from Marblehead, Massachusetts, and his regiments have been with Washington since the siege of Boston more than a year ago. He has shown himself to be a loyal, trustworthy, and successful commander. So he really is the person who's going to be in command, keeping the British from crossing north of Washington and preventing him from getting up to White Plains. Glover is severely outnumbered. I think he has about 750 men, and the British have about 4,000 British and Hessian soldiers. And just a reminder, I just remembered talking here that this was actually the subject of the very first ever episode I did of a show called Travel Channel's Mysteries of the Museum. It was about the Battle of Pell's Point, and I'll put a link to that episode in the description here if you want to look for it. It's available many places on demand, so you might want to check that out. Howe is going to land with these 4,000 men, and there is a spot with a rock called Glover's Rock, which supposedly is where John Glover was standing when he was looking through his eyepiece, his little telescope, and sees these guys landing. And this is a picture of Glover's Rock when I was there, but it is not believed to be the spot where all of this happened. But this is all a pretty small area if you walk around or drive around up there. So, it's really not that far from where the battle actually took place. So Glover sees that they're landing, and the British are going to go up a road called Split Rock Road. They're going to use this road because it takes them straight up to White Plains. It's an easy road through. It's cleared. It goes through lots of farmland, and they've been clued into it by a local loyalist family. So they're going to want to use this road. And Glover, is a smart guy. He understands deployments. He understands how troops move around, what they carry with them, and he knows they're going to use this road. So how can he defend it? Well, he can't really keep the British from, advancing, but he can slow them down. And he comes up with a brilliant idea for the way to slow them down. He keeps part of his regiments. These are really his own guys, Glover's regiments. He's going to keep them further north in case the British get up there in order to engage them there later. And he's going to take the other regiments he commands and place them along the stone walls that line the Split Rock Road. Many of you have probably seen these walls if you've been up through New England or old towns on the East Coast or throughout America. These walls were used to line roadways, but also maybe to line property lines, right? To enclose farms or property lines, things like that. So there's a series of these walls, a wall that goes up on either side of the Split Rock Road, and then there are walls coming in running perpendicular to it. So Glover is going to place his guys staggered along these walls on either side of the road, so that when the British make their advance, his guys will pop up and shoot at them and engage them for a while and slow them down. And then they'll stop, the British will move on, and as they move to the next section of the road, the guys on the other side of the wall are going to pop up and engage the British again. Meanwhile, that first group is going to run up ahead of where the British are on the first side, and they'll continue to do this, slowing down the British as they move along the Split Rock Road, giving Washington over in Upper Manhattan an opportunity to begin moving north to White Plains. This is a pretty brilliant idea. And Dave told us that at one point they exchanged 17 rounds of fire. And think about how long that takes, right? This is musket fire. So they're reloading each time. So this is quite a long delay for the English. Now, I had a couple of questions for Dave. Like, why did the British just keep doing this? And he said that at the first engagement, the British thought that this was just a little group of rebels they were running into. And once they cleared this group, they would continue, moving on up the road, that they didn't expect they would keep meeting more along the road. You might think this is ridiculous on part of the British who've been fighting the Americans, who've been using unorthodox techniques for the last few months. But if you think about the mindset of the British commanders, who are aristocrats, educated guys, they really look down on America, right? They have not taken the Americans seriously at all up until this point. England didn't take us seriously during the rebellion against the stamp tax. They didn't take us seriously, the Quartering Act, the Tea Act, and they're still not taking us seriously through all of the fighting that's been going on for a year and a half since it began in Boston. So they really just are not taking us seriously. They don't take our lawyers seriously, which has tragically led to the situation we're in. And they just continue to look down on all American abilities and just don't even see that we could be outsmarting them here. So they just keep marching along this road, getting fired upon alternately from each side. And this is going to go on for a few hours. And I have some pictures here as I'm talking, I've been sharing with you of what remains of that road along the Split Rock Golf Course. So it was really quite thrilling to be able to walk along where this occurred. Eventually, Glover's going to realize that he can't hold them off any longer, and his men are going to retreat up to a more secure position where then later they will engage the British. But Glover knows he can't beat them, and eventually they'll just move up north to White Plains as well. So it really is a brilliant delaying tactic, the Battle of Pell's Point, securing that area for a short time so that Washington can continue up to White Plains from his northern Manhattan position. So great job for Glover and the Continental regiments he commanded that day. So the Battle of Pell's Point, October 18th, 1776. And I think we only have one more battle in the battle for New York, or at least concerning Manhattan Island. That will be coming up in November, and I will be up there. What is the date? I forgot the date. Might be November 12th, Sunday, November 12th. I will be up at Fort Washington with all of the reenactors, recording some video and talking to people about what happened that day. But I'll also do a more formal video like this. So I hope you like this short little video about the Battle of Pell's Point. I didn't go too deeply into details of it because I really just want to give you an overview of these battles. You can always look them up and find out more, or if you'd like a more in-depth video of exactly who was where and how they moved, just let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to make one that's more in-depth for you. For now, I just want to engage people in the battle for New York, give people an idea of what it was all about and why it's important that we remember it. So if you like this video, please like it. and share it and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss more like this. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, and before I forget, if you're going to be in New York or you are in New York, take a tour with me, patriottoursnyc.com. I really enjoy meeting people who find me from my social media, from YouTube, from Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're watching this. Please take a tour with me. I would be very happy to meet you. So thank you very much for watching. And until our next battle, the Battle of Fort Washington, unfortunately, the fall of the island of Manhattan to the British. So until then, take care, and I'll see you soon.